Welcome into the Make the Money and Run podcast for Friday, July 16th, 2021. Vasu Party, Charlie O here with you as we get ready to resume baseball after the All-Star break. Lots of things going on in baseball. We were supposed to start yesterday. Then we were supposed to start at 2 o'clock Eastern today. That's all been backed up to 4 o'clock for the first games today. Charlie O here with you. Vasu Party again. We're here Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 1 o'clock Eastern on Fridays. 12 o'clock on Mondays Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern, and then Thursdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and don't forget to download, subscribe, rate, and review at any of the podcasting outlets you had. If you missed any of the previous shows or any of this show that we're coming on, including our worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment that comes in at the end, please download, subscribe, rate, and review, and get those picks. No games starting until 4 o'clock Eastern, so we're about 3 hours away from that. We did have one game to start. We'll get to that in a minute, as we've already had some postponements to start the resumption of baseball season. Charlie O, how are you?
Hey, listen, I am doing very well. I've had a good few days. I've enjoyed my All-Star break, but was very disappointed last night. I was in studio, wrapped up producing my shows, getting ready to do a little production. I said, hey, I'll catch the end of that Red Sox Yankees game. I turned it on and COVID. And I'm going, oh, man, come on. You got to be kidding me.
We should let everybody know that the Yankees-Red Sox game postponed last night due to 3 Yankees pitchers testing positive for COVID. I don't think they said who it was, and that's fine. The HIPAA laws and all that there. The point being that if they were guys that went to the All-Star game, then I think Major League Baseball might have an issue here with that. And they're one of the 7 games that are not on the board today right now because they're trying to figure out if they're going to play. And this is not the way that baseball wanted to open the second half of the season, with the Yankees-Red Sox being the marquee game, and have that postponed because of COVID, what we all went through in 2020. We haven't forgotten. I'm sure we all remember what it was like last year, but kind of scary, Charlie, to have this come up again. I know they say that people can get it a second time. It's not as bad if you've been vaccinated. I'm still trying to figure out the facts of it, honestly. But the fact is, the game was postponed, and who knows about today's game. The other game's postponed today. The Tigers and Twins were scheduled for a doubleheader at 2 o'clock, an hour from now. Both games have been postponed due to bad weather in Detroit. So no games until 4 o'clock today. No games until 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So we can rest a little bit, Charlie.
Well, let's talk about the COVID thing first. There have been reports that Aaron Judge is one of the people who was affected by exposure. Okay. They're not saying he has COVID, but was exposed to COVID. And it was indeed at some event surrounding the All-Star break. And that was part of the problem that they've coming up against. And that is why they've started to shut the thing down. And you would think, well, okay, there were Red Sox there as well. Were they at the same event? Blah, 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 blah. Vasu, the fact of the matter is, and we're just going to have to face up to this, we are going to have COVID incidents throughout the second half of the season because of this Delta variant. And here we go. I'm going to play Dr. Fauci now. He's much better looking than I am and much more intelligent. But this is a whole new deal. And we don't know how it's going to affect everything. I'm not trying to be political when I say this. Please understand, I am not trying to make this political. We just know that in the southeastern part of the United States, that the vaccination rate is lower. And because of that, teams like Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Miami, teams in Texas, players are going to be more exposed. I think baseball is going to have to consider teams traveling to those areas, really thinking about bubbling those teams down when they travel in those areas. And it may become more that way everywhere they go, because if they got exposed in Denver, Now it may be because they had so many people traveling in, but it's going to become more of a problem, and nobody wants to have a situation where we have no fans, and I don't think we're there yet. But we didn't think when we shut down the NBA that it was going to be for as long as it was. So I think what they need to do is they need to jump on this quickly, and a quick response could be one that keeps it from becoming a dramatic and colossal response that we don't want. So hopefully we'll be able to put a lid on this quickly. And man, I don't like to do these kinds of things, but it may be the kind of thing where you don't get to come to a game unless you show that you've been vaccinated. I don't want to be that guy that says you have to be vaccinated. I don't think that's the kind of country we are, but it may become the kind of thing that just says, hey, you don't want to be vaccinated, you don't get to do this. It may come down to that for those kind of events.
More details to come on this as far as the Yankees-Red Sox game go. No lines on these games coming up, depending on the pitching status. Baltimore, Kansas City. Obviously, the Yankees-Boston, very fluid situation. San Francisco, St. Louis, they had listed pitchers there. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, why that game's not on the board yet. But the Giants have Kevin Gausman, and the Cardinals have Adam Wainwright scheduled to go tonight. The New York Mets and the Pittsburgh Pirates, and, of course, we said Minnesota, Detroit, postponed because of rain, and not because of COVID. That's a fluid situation. We'll see how that goes. Stick around 6 Eastern. We'll be on social media to give further picks out for later in the afternoon, if we have some later in the afternoon here on the West Coast, and early evening on the East Coast as well, too. All right, let's get off the COVID topic here. It is something we're going to have to deal with. Yesterday, we had John Parado on. We had him break down a lot of the National League. The same things. Nothing's changed in the National League. The Mets are still in first place. Acuna out for the season. Atlanta did make for a trade yesterday. First trade, not the first name you thought of when the trade season started. It was Jock Peterson coming from the Cubs. He only signed a 1-year contract with the Cubs. But the Atlanta Braves, they already lost Marcell Ozuna to legal issues. They lost Ronald Acuna Jr. to the ACL over the weekend. And now they got to fill the outfield spot. Ariel Adrianza is not going to be a power hitter like Acuna. Jock Peterson can hit the ball out in any ballpark. Atlanta is definitely a home run hitter's ballpark, at least the last couple of years it's been at Truist Field. So Jock Peterson goes to the Atlanta Braves. He might be in the lineup tonight as the Tampa Bay Rays come into town. By the way, you can check out the betting lines we have right now on the tickers as we go through the start of the resumption of the baseball season. I should say it's not officially the second half, but a lot of interesting National League games. But as far as the NL East goes, Charlie, I read a column yesterday. Actually, there was some talk about Freddie Freeman possibly heading to San Diego. I didn't believe it, but it kept popping up in different scenarios. And who knows if the Atlanta Braves are going to be sellers and they don't have Acuna and they don't have Ozuna, and they probably will never have Ozuna again. And Acuna's out for the year and Jock Peterson's there. Their pitching's not great. Melanson not there this year. He's having a great year in San Diego. Will Smith not that great. I mean, the Mets could. John Parado said it yesterday. The Mets could win this division by default.
Yeah, I don't think the Freeman thing has legs. I would have been paying more attention to that if they had not made a move for Peterson. Now, first of all, Peterson and Acuna, they are not in the same conversation anywhere at any time. Okay, don't get me wrong. But I think that they made the move for Peterson because they still are serious in thinking that they can do something there. I think they're 4.5 back of the Mets. And I think that they're thinking that the Mets could have a hiccup along the way because they're obviously going to have to win that division in order to be in, because I still think that all the wild cards are coming out of the West. But I think they still think they're in it. Peterson can help them. I think your point is well taken. I think he'll be helped by playing in Atlanta. One thing that people don't think about, the stadium at the second highest altitude in all of Major League Baseball is Atlanta.
Yeah, very humid.
You don't think about that, but it's Coors Field. and then Atlanta, because it's in the Rocky Mountains. It's high. I think it's almost 1,300 feet in elevation. So you have the humidity and the altitude, which can be very helpful to hitters. So Peterson's going to get a little lift there. Again, he's not going to be the sole reason that they would be able to win that division, but he's helpful. He's experienced. It gives them a player that could help them along the way. They didn't really have to give up much. The first baseman that they gave up was a 24th round draft pick. He does have, in reading about him, he has developed an ability to have great contact, but he's a project. So it didn't really cost him anything. They're not invested in him long term, because you mentioned it's a 1-year contract. So at the end of the time, it's a one and done. They can move on. So I think it was a great move by them. And if they were going to give up and become sellers, I do not believe they would have made that move. And man, I'm telling you, I think the fan base there would absolutely just rebel if they got rid of Freeman.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So Atlanta, 5 back in the loss column, 4.5 in the standings. Philadelphia has a doubleheader against the Marlins today. Matt Moore and Zach Eflin going against Sandy Alcantara. Ross Detweiler. We have the lines at the bottom going on. It's Matt Moore is a 110 underdog at home, and the Marlins have no offense. I know it's Alcantara, but I'm really surprised that the Marlins are favored going into this game. All right, let's move on to the National League West. We'll hit the Central in a second. San Francisco coming into today. Kevin Gausman coming off his Sunday start against the Washington Nationals. They swept the Nats last week. They're 3 games ahead of LA in the loss column, 8 ahead of the Padres coming in. Padres had a rough weekend against Colorado. We talked with John yesterday again, and we talked about this too as well. Injuries in depth for the Dodgers right now with the pitching staff as it is. They are going to Colorado. If they want to make a move in the division, they're going to have to do something in Colorado this weekend. Julio Urias will get the start. That came as a change. That came as a pitching change for the Wagers from Walker Buehler, the original starter coming out the break, to Friday. He's going to go tomorrow, and Urias will get the start tonight in Colorado against Senzatella. National League West, Charlie. I know you know how I feel about the Padres. This is a Giants-Dodgers deal right now, and I think the Dodgers, with their injuries and their lack of depth right now, I'm sure they wish they had Jock Peterson back right now instead of letting him go. They had depth going into the offseason, but then now the injuries have caught up to them, and those guys have been playing well, McKinstry and Matt Beatty and guys like that, but they're not guys that were key parts of the World Series team last year or the World Series teams from 3 or 4 years ago when they were against Houston and Boston right now. So, but the Giants, National League leaders, Major League leaders in home runs, the starting pitching's been great. With the trade deadlines coming up here, they're probably looking at a closer, although a lot of people in the Bay Area are saying a starting pitcher. I think they need another hitting outfielder. So there's still things to do. There's still things in play. And from a trade standpoint, the names that I mentioned yesterday on yesterday's show, Joey Gallo and Kyle Gibson of the Rangers, Chris Bryant, Craig Kimbrell. Obviously, Jock Peterson was a name that wasn't on the list yesterday, but he's there. And there are other guys that are, and John mentioned Adam Frazier from the Pittsburgh Pirates. There are a lot of guys out there that have possibly had. And one name we didn't mention yesterday, because now I don't know, maybe they got postponed today so they could trade Nelson Cruz today because he was in the All-Star game, because Nelson Cruz is a big bat. And I know the Oakland A's for about a decade have been interested in Nelson Cruz, and they can never find a way to get him either from Texas or from Seattle or from Baltimore or wherever he was at when the trading deadline comes up. And by the way, in fact, I was just reading this morning. It is a hard deadline this year. There will be no waiver trades after July 31st. So if you're going to make a trade, you got to do it by July 31st. Now, you can still get players on unconditional waivers, but that's a longer process than the trade deals that go on after July 31st. Just make sure you get them on there before August 31st so you can get them on your postseason roster if that's your plan. So some of the names going on, the Padres are looking for an outfielder. Chris Bryant, Joey Gallo's name had come up. I don't know about their starting pitching right now. I don't know if it's worth it for them to go after a contract like that. But Chris Bryant went to school in San Diego, and he's got another year left on his contract. That'd be a great fit in San Diego. I know the Padres are looking hard at him. And then Colorado's got some guys to trade too. Charlie Blackmon's got to be on the list somewhere too. And then Arizona's got 5 or 6 major league hitters on that team. Possibly they could be traded as well too. So National League West, Charlie.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some movement there. I think you're going to see some player additions. ESPN's sports information group came out today. Their percentages for playoff position, they give the Dodgers the number one spot, a 99.5% chance of making the playoffs. Padres, 91.2%. Giants, 91.1%. Okay, come on, really? Just say
making the playoffs
to make
or winning the division.
To make the playoffs.
Wow, okay? They've got the Giants third. Holy cow!
The Brewers at 83.5% and the Mets at 76.7%. So, again, the West is going to dominate. The West is going to be there, and I think Dodgers, Padres, and Giants are all going to be players. I think the Giants will be the least of those players. They will make the least number of moves. I think the Padres and the Dodgers will make the most moves because I think they're both feeling a little desperate because of what the Giants are doing right now. I think they're both a little bit in shock that they've been trailing the Giants all season long, and I think they'll try to make some moves there. For the Dodgers, I think their moves will be based in part on the health of their pitching staff. I think one thing that they're going to want to make a pitcher, and again, I don't want to get into the details of it, but I think they're going to get they need a pitcher because I don't think Bauer will be back. And the rest of it is just, how healthy is the pitching staff and what do they think they need to do to shore that up? I agree with you. I think San Diego feels like they need an outfielder. Man, Chris Bryant, wow, that would be a pretty awesome addition there.
Not only that, Chris Bryant is a Farhan Zaidi, a Billy Bean type of player, all these analytics types of guys, because you know what Chris Bryant's value is. Chris Bryant can play 5 positions. He can play third, first. He can play left, center, and the outfield. So let's just take the Giants, for example, since I see them every day, just in case Longoria doesn't come back. He can play there. Solano and Luciano, or not Luciano, but Solano and Dubon and guys like that have filled in are not Chris Bryant. He can play left field. Dickerson and Slater have struggled a little bit. Duggar's played well in center, but he can't hit left-handed pitching still. And then right field, Yastrzemski is every day. So they got one spot that's solidified in there. Let me throw this out there in the National League West. The Giants in first place, Dodgers in second, Padres in third. Everybody's talking about the Giants starting pitching. They've got 4 starters, two that are really, really, really strong right now. And Alex Wood has turned the corner back from whatever happened to him for that month being off. It could have just been a slump. It happens in baseball, a slump. And then the bullpen, I think a lot of people are not sold on Tyler Rogers being the closer. They've been maneuvering McGee around. He's gotten most of the saves lately. Tyler Rogers pitches to contact, and sometimes when you pitch to contact, you get a little unlucky, and that's bad when you got base runners on. You got inherited runners on. Let me throw this out at you just for the heck of it, because I was talking to somebody. I might have had some alcohol when I said this, but it's entirely possible. That part's entirely possible, but it's entirely possible that because of the last 3 years that everybody's been complaining about Brandon Belt. How about, and I know he's injured and it probably wouldn't be a good move for somebody right now, but he's going to come off the IL, and he was having a good year this year. How about Brandon Belt on the move for a big-time closer like a Craig Kimbrell or a big-time starting pitcher to a team where he would hit home runs, like in Chicago, like in New York, like in Philadelphia, like in Atlanta, although he wouldn't be able to play first base in Atlanta, but you get the idea. What about a Brandon Belt trade for a big-time starting pitcher or I think that was fireworks going off in my neighborhood in the Bay Area talking about Brandon Belt. but anyway, no, I love Brandon Belt. The giraffe is great. But I think that Farhan Zaidi, if you're going to get something, you have to give up something, and maybe you have to make a move like that, because there have been trades where people were wondering why they were trading fan favorites, and then all of a sudden they get better, like when Matt Williams 25 years ago. I go back to the Giants because I've lived here, but when he traded Matt Williams, Brian Sabian took a whole heap of mess. That was an off-season move, but he got 3 players back, including a potential Hall of Famer and Jeff Kent, to come in, and they won after that. Matt Williams went to the World Series with the Indians after that, Charlie.
Well, if memory serves me correctly, I believe that Belt's contract is expiring this year.
Yes.
Well,
so is Posey. So is Crawford.
So, I'm going to contend that Posey's untouchable.
And I'm going to contend that Crawford is going to come back another year while Luciano and Dubon figure it out.
And I don't disagree with that. I think Belt is disposable because Belt is not coming back anyway. I don't think Belt will be back no matter what. So trade him because
Problem is, who's going to take him though? He's injured. That's why I threw that name out there. But that's the problem.
And let me tell you why somebody's going to take him. Somebody would take him because it's an expiring contract. So you take him. Now I don't know that you're going to get a top-notch pitcher for him. But you may be able to get somebody that's serviceable.
Starter.
You might be
a bullpen guy to pitch in the 7th inning or 8th inning, and then maybe move Rogers back down to the 7th.
Give me a second now. You might be able to package him up with something that would get you something serviceable. You might be able to throw Belt in with maybe a couple low-level minor leaguers that have potential, and then get something of value back. Because again, these days teams love expiring contracts. So I think that is his value right there, is that you get him. He might, because he'll come off that IL and he'll, the guy's a worker. All right. I mean, when when he comes back, I mean, he's taken a lot of heat, but he's a good guy and he works hard. So when he comes off the IL, he'll give some teams some value. So I think if you package him up with a couple of minor leaguers, yeah, you could get some value back. And he's not coming back to the Giants anyway. So Giants fans who love him, go give him a kiss because he's not coming back.
All right. National League West talked about. One more before we go to break and talk about the American League. We'll go to the National League Central. Reds and Brewers just played last weekend. They didn't even get to play anybody else. And now they're going to go back to they're in Cincinnati this weekend for 3 games. A big 3-game series because Cincinnati went into Milwaukee last weekend, beat them 3 out of 4. And when you go into Milwaukee and beat them 3 out of 4, that means you're going to get Brandon Woodruff. You're going to get Corbin Burns. You're going to get Freddie Peralta possibly in a 4-game series. And they beat them in the last 3 games. I think they beat Peralta on Sunday. I think Woodruff got beat on Thursday. And I don't remember I think Corbin Burns pitched on Friday. That might have been the game that Milwaukee won. But it was 3 out of 4. They won the last 3 in a row, so therefore they won. So they got beat. I think Brandon Woodruff did beat them, and then they were able to beat the other three starting pitchers from Milwaukee. But the bottom line is they won 3 in a row, knocked off 3 straight. They're 4 back of Milwaukee right now, who has the best starting pitching, probably the best closer in that division, Josh Hader. Devin Williams is not as healthy as he was last year, the rookie of the year, with that phenomenal changeup and that 95-mile-an-hour fastball. He has shoulder problems, and their starting pitching is great. But they don't hit. They were hitting up until about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't looked at the stats going into the All-Star break, but they were hitting about 210 overall as a team. And that ain't going to win you any playoff games. That's not going to win you any division. The Cubs have lost 13 out of 15. They start the series. They start the resumption at 8 games back along with St. Louis. I get a better feeling about St. Louis than I do about Chicago, Charlie. And maybe that's because all the things I hear about the Ricketts family, a lot of my Midwest friends do not have a lot of nice things to say about the Ricketts family because they went into this as a rebuild this year to start the year. And sure enough, this 13 out of 15 probably in a weird way helped the Ricketts be able to establish their plan of rebuilding and not re-signing some of these guys that they possibly trade. And I also heard yesterday that Contreras may be on the block as well, too, the Cubs catcher.
Well, I'm going to give you my opinion of the Ricketts family. All right. And I could be totally wrong on this, but this is just an outside view. My allegiance in Chicago, and I used to live up in northern Indiana, and I got a lot of good friends who are Cubbies fans. My impression of the Ricketts family is they are a real estate group. Okay, they're a television media real estate group that I don't think they give a rip about what the baseball product is. I think they're interested in developing more of the real estate around the ballpark. They're interested in developing the media property. And at some point within the next 5 years, they are going to sell that thing like a hot rock to somebody with all the money that they've developed with it. And they will make a bundle. But I don't think they're baseball people. And I don't think they care because they know in Chicago, people are going to turn out to see the Cubs no matter what. And that's the truth. We know that from history. Right. So I nothing that they do at this point would surprise me. As a matter of fact, one of the names that's prevalent on the trade list right now is Javi Baez, and the destination, interestingly enough, most likely talked about the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they're talking about is they might trade him to the A's, and then he becomes a free agent, and then they might try to re-sign him back in Chicago. Okay, maybe a good move, but he's going to be a whole lot more expensive. And maybe they lose out on the hometown discount. Although my whole thing is hometown discounts make absolutely no sense to me. If I was a guy's agent, I would say, "What do you mean hometown discount? It's just as expensive to live here as it is any place else. No discount." But the Ricketts family, I don't understand, and so I would agree with you. I think if anybody's going to make a move, it's going to be St. Louis, because those are baseball people there, and I expect them to try to do something. But I got to jump back to that Cincinnati game and tell you something kind of cool that I found out. I was watching MLB Network this morning. Tonight, Wade Miley's going tonight, right?
Tyler Mahle.
Okay, well, Miley's starting. Maybe it's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah.
It's going to be the Incredible Hulk night.
Oh,
he is
incredible.
Right, yeah. He is a big fan of the Incredible Hulk, and the guy who is the illustrator of the Incredible Hulk, his dad was on the 1973 Reds, and so they are doing a special poster giveaway tomorrow night that is Miley on the mound with the Hulk over his back. And I mean, it is absolutely wild. People are going to go crazy. People are going to show up just to get the poster, and people show up in droves on Saturday night in Cincinnati anyway for baseball, but it's the Incredible Hulk night. So it's like Miley needs any other motivation. He's going to be pumped up because it's going to be his Incredible Hulk night. So if you're going to wager tomorrow night on that game, go Cincinnati all the way.
Cincinnati all the way.
because Miley's going to be pumped up unbelievably.
Well, we'll have picks. No games start till 3:00 Eastern on Saturday. So Charlie and I have picks over the weekend in terms of all the baseball. Of course, the NBA Finals will come up. I'm interested in this series, Charlie. The Tyler Mahle tonight against Adrian Hauser. This is a chance. I mean, if the Reds are going to be contenders, I think you have to take 2 out of 3. I know it's only July 16th, and it probably doesn't mean a lot if they lose 2 out of 3. But I think for momentum's sake, 4 games back, you take 2 out of 3. You pick up at least 1 game this weekend. It's a huge series, and Cincinnati still maybe in the market to pick up another starting pitching, because right now their bullpen's not very good. Their starting pitching has actually been okay. Sonny Gray got hurt last week, but Tyler Mahle's there. You talked about Wade Miley. Luis Castillo, I think, has turned it around from his awful April. He was about 11 ERA, and this is a guy who had 18 wins in 2019 for the Reds, and when they were contending, their starting pitching was good coming in. They added a couple of pieces now, and surprisingly, they're not hitting as well as they're pitching this year, and that's going to change in the second half with that ballpark and some of these guys getting healthy. It looks like Suarez is swinging the bat. Winker and Castellanos are MVP candidates. They started in the All-Star game. First time two Reds and 2 Pirates started in the All-Star game. How about that?
Unbelievable, huh?
In 2021 in Denver. Yeah, Jesse Winker and Nick Castellanos. Everybody knows Castellanos from his Tigers days, a couple of years with the Cubs, and now his second year with the Reds. He's an MVP candidate as well, too. And if they start moving up the ladder into first place, and Joey Votto, by the way, the last 3 weeks has been hitting the snot out of the ball because he had a rough start to start the year as well, too, at first base. So they've got the horses. They can figure out how to shore up this pitching, especially the bullpen. Then they might have a shot at overtaking Milwaukee right now, because I think the Reds obviously have the better offense in Cincinnati than they do in Milwaukee, and that's aside from the fact that they play at the ballpark. The ballpark certainly does help, but playing in that ballpark this weekend, I got a feeling that they're gonna have a chance. In fact, let me look it up. Adrian Hauser. And then on Saturday, it's going to be Brandon Woodruff. So that's going to be a little tough. 7-4, 2.08 for Brandon Woodruff. And then on Sunday, they're going to go up against Corbin Burns. So here you go. Hauser, Woodruff, and Burns set up nicely for the Brewers this weekend against Sonny Gray and against Wade Miley tomorrow. Castillo's going tomorrow, actually, so it's not Miley. And then Sonny Gray, and then Tyler Mahle's going tonight. So Miley's not scheduled to pitch until after the weekend, but the Incredible Hulk deal is a good deal, and I think I'll turn on the satellite just for that right before the basketball game starts tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I think I'll watch that. But I'm very interested in this Reds Brewers series. The National League Central turned out to be pretty good. I'm interested to see what St. Louis does if they think they're still buyers. Adam Wainwright, pretty much on his last legs here, last couple of years here for him. He's pitching really well. I'm not trying to put him out to pasture. He's pitching really well, but he's got the Giants tonight. Giants going in red hot after their Washington weekend, and a good feeling from the All-Star game as well, too. So it'll be interesting. Thanks to Neil and David on Facebook. Thanks to everybody on YouTube for joining us live right here. You can join us every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and then you can download, subscribe, rate, and review. Coming up after the break, we'll talk NBA Finals. Later on down the road, the series tied at 2 games apiece between Phoenix and Milwaukee. All the home teams have won the series. We're going to hit the American League and all the trade possibilities and all the divisions in the American League. Vasu Party, Charlie O, Make the Money and Run podcast for Friday, July 16th. Back in 30 with more. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast for Friday, July 16th, 2021. Vasu Party, Charlie O here. Thank you to Facebook and YouTube Live for all the viewers. We got a couple of viewers out there right now, David and Neil. Thank you very much. And on YouTube, we get all the comments and all the numbers from YouTube as well, too. Doing very well on YouTube, Charlie, by the way. I just thought I don't know how often you check that, but I've been checking it lately. And we're doing very well on YouTube. You can catch us live every Monday at 3 Eastern, Thursday at noon Eastern, and today, Friday at 1 Eastern. That is 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 1 o'clock. Noon on Mondays, 9 a.m. on Thursdays, and 10 o'clock a.m. on the West Coast. Facebook and YouTube Live. And if you miss any of the broadcasts, including our pick segment at the end, what are they, Charlie? Our worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment. Come on, sponsored. Subscribe and rate and review. Download it anywhere you see that logo up there, the Make the Money and Run logo, anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, before we hit the American League, I want to talk a couple of potpourri things here real quick. First of all, let's get they don't call it the British Open anymore. It's the Open. Colin Morikawa out of UC Berkeley, third year on the tour right now, 7 birdies in round 2. The weather is beautiful out in London. I don't know if you caught any of it this morning, but the weather, I have never seen it not rain during the Open ever in July. And the weather is just beautiful. It's short sleeve weather. It's like you and your buddies going out on a Saturday somewhere around here in the Bay Area where all the courses are nice and you just go out there and have a nice relaxing day. It looks that way. Colin Morikawa, -9. He had 7 birdies in the second round. Jordan Spieth had three birdies. He's picked up 3 shots. He and Louis Oosthuizen are at -8. In fact, let me refresh that and make sure that's still right. Actually, Jordan Spieth and Louis Oosthuizen are now tied with Morikawa at -9. Jordan Spieth 4 birdies on the back on the second day right here. 5-way tie at -4. Morikawa at -6, and Emiliano Grillo of Argentina both had the best rounds of the day at -6, although Jordan Spieth making a run at that. He started at -5 coming into the day. Watching any of the U.S. Open, Charlie? It's good wagering if you had it. I know John Rahm was the favorite coming into the tournament, and Bryson DeChambeau had a meltdown a little bit after the first day, talking about his driver. Got the Cobra CEO all over him a little bit on the newscast after that I saw on SportsCenter, and then he had to come back and do some spin on Instagram and Twitter saying, I love working with Cobra and all this other stuff. But some of the golf and the majors are very exciting. I get a kick out of watching it. It's a little early, way early on the West Coast. So if you're going out late at night, you can catch it as you're going to bed. But on the East Coast, it goes mid-morning, late morning type of thing. But that's what's going on in the Open major right now. Golf did a good thing. They moved the FedEx Open out of football season, so their season's going to end before September 1st in terms of the FedEx Cup, which nobody knows how to score anyway, but the fact that it's a major anyway. But Morikawa, I think he won the TPC last year, his first major, and now he's going for a second major right now. Now he's fighting it out in a 3-way tie with Jordan Spieth and Louis Oosthuizen. Charlie?
Vasu, let me tell you, first of all, I don't bet on golf.
Yeah.
Every time I've bet on golf, I've just lost my shirt because it's one of those things where there's so many possibilities, and it's like, to me, it's like betting on NASCAR. Okay, you put it down and you just watch your money, and in my case, it just goes right down the drain. I watch golf like I watch tennis. Okay, I watch the majors and I enjoy it. My late father-in-law, who I miss dearly, was a golfer, and one of the things we enjoyed doing so much was we would watch the majors, and we would get together and barbecue or have breakfast together and watch the majors. So for me, I watch the majors. I enjoy it. I love the. I mean, they can call it the Open all they want. It's the British Open. Come on, it's like calling it the AT&T. It's the Crosby. I don't care what you want to call it down there. It's I enjoy watching them. I enjoy watching it because the weather can change on a dime. So you can be playing on a beautiful day, and the next day you can be playing in a monsoon. So it's fun to watch that way. They they make those courses incredibly hard because they are majors, and so it's like watching professional golfers play on miniature golf courses, except they're 500 yards long, and they're fun. So yeah, I watch them. If you bet golf and win, God bless you. Please send me your tips because I have no clue.
It's pretty tough. It's just like any other sport where you're betting on futures and you just have that. They've tried to make it a little different where you head-to-head people per round. And so they do that and you get a money line and you get minus half either way, depending on like that. I saw Rory McIlroy and Caleb Smith were head-to-head in this second round. They're in the same partnership. So, but anyway, that's the update on the Open. Before we hit the American League, I want to talk about one more story here, Charlie. By the way, you can catch all the baseball lines at the bottom. A lot of baseball to go over. We're not going to go through each of the lines today, but the fact is that there's 6 of them that are still out there. I'm still trying to find out if we've got those 5 lines yet. We'll get them to you at the end if we have those 5 lines that are not posted yet. The Giants Cardinals being one of them. But did you hear the Tom Brady story yesterday? As if Tom Brady has nothing else going.
I just heard it this morning.
Yeah. So let me give everybody an update on the Tom Brady story. I really wish this guy had something going for him because he really is going through some bad luck right now because apparently he just can't stay healthy. So the story goes that Tom Brady, winner of 7 Super Bowls, and just adding to his legend. I mean, does this guy do anything wrong for that matter? Other than, and I don't even think the 3 losses were his fault. Bad defense against Philadelphia, a great catch by David Tyree in the Giants Super Bowl in Phoenix, and then Mario Manningham makes an unbelievable catch down the left side for them to go down, and then Wes Welker drops a pass. I mean, we could be looking at, he could have 10 Super Bowls as a winner, and that's, what is that, like 18% of the entire Super Bowl history under one guy, Tom Brady. 7-3 as it is, and it's really hard for me to start putting up Tom Brady as not being the GOAT considering the area I live in, because it's still all Joe Montana here, and who do you want to have for one game? And I'm going with the guys that he's had. And the only reason I'm starting to turn over on Brady now is because of the turnover that he's had from one Super Bowl to the other. Joe Montana and the 49ers in the 80s, they had basically the same core group that was there. And so that the continuity was there. But for him to go from a Randy Moss in 2008 to a Wes Welker in 2015 to a Julian Edelman in 2017 with the 28-3 game, etc. I mean, that just shows that what kind of great player he is to be able to adjust to the talent around him. So here's the story. So apparently last April, he tore his MCL, completely torn. So he was playing all of last year on a torn MCL. He had what they called minor surgery, and he's old school, so he doesn't disclose his injuries. And he comes from Belichick. He comes from the Belichickian way of describing injury reports anyway, that they don't say, upper body injury like in hockey, et cetera, et cetera. So apparently he had a torn MCL since last April. He goes to Tampa Bay, and he plays on a completely torn MCL, which makes sense now based on the fact that he didn't move at all in the pocket. If you look at the game film, he didn't move at all. So Tom Brady, torn MCL, takes his Tampa Bay Buccaneers from where they were at 7-5, runs them through those last 4 games, gets them in the playoffs, beats Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees on the road, goes into the Super Bowl, beats Patrick Mahomes, great defense, but beats Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl with that great pass rush, and all this on an MCL, and he has quote-unquote minor surgery a few weeks later after the Super Bowl, which I don't know if he leaked it for whatever reason or some press agent probably leaked it, but it was pretty major that it was a torn MCL, and he's 43 years old, and he's got 7 Super Bowls. Boy, I really feel bad for Tom Brady right now.
I heard that this morning, and I'm just going, okay, buy him a herd of goats.
What else? Yeah, what else?
I mean, the only thing that I can relate to about it, Vasu, is that 2 years ago, my grandson got me to come out of retirement to umpire with him because he's an amateur umpire, and he had always wanted to umpire a game with me, and he got me out to umpire, and we did 4 games. I should have never done 4 games. We did 4. The 4th game
in one day.
In one day.
Oh crap! All right.
And in the 4th game, all I did was bases. I knew I couldn't do behind the plate.
Yeah.
And I planted because we had runners at first, so I planted to turn around to call the runner, the lead runner, and I planted, my foot stuck, my left foot stuck, and I turned, and I knew that I retore my meniscus. I knew I did. So they've been debating for the last 2 years about what they want to do, because it's kind of a funny tear and where it is, and I've torn that meniscus before, and they repaired it. So I've been running around for the last 2 years with a torn meniscus. A lot of days it's fine. Other days it just hurts. Today it is giving me fits. Okay. I don't even come close to doing anything on any day close to what Tom Brady would do, even in practice, let alone in a game.
Practice?
This guy's got a torn MCL, didn't take any days off from practice. The team didn't know. He didn't tell the team.
Yeah.
And goes out and wins a Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. Give the guy a Superman suit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
No doubt about it.
I mean, okay, I want his diet. I want his exercise regime. Well, I couldn't do his exercise regime. Who am I kidding? At least I can eat his diet. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
No doubt about it. So a little news there from the NFL. 3 weeks till training camp. We'll be all over it as the Make the Money and Run podcast gets through it. All right, let's move on to the American League now. Talking about we're coming out of the All-Star break, resumption of the second half of the season, what teams are going to do. We got some insight from John Parado yesterday of sportsbettingdime.com. By the way, check him out, sportsbettingdime.com. He's going to start doing daily reviews on Major League Baseball. And this is a guy that's been a beat writer for the Pittsburgh Pirates for 30 years, a Hall of Fame voter. Now the sportsbettingdime.com has come up in the last few years, and his articles are great, and his analysis is really good online as well, too. So we'll promote him on that. And you can find him on Twitter, and you can find him on Facebook. That's how I found him, on Facebook. So now he's become a regular on the show. All right, let's move off to the American League here. We talked about Boston and New York. They're a game ahead of Tampa Bay in the loss column. Toronto and New York both 8 games back in the loss column, 6 and 7. I'm sorry, 8 games back in the standings, 6 games for Toronto, 7 back in the loss column for the Yankees. Yankees take 2 out of 3 versus Houston. They lost that 5-run lead on Sunday. They didn't use Chapman on Sunday afternoon against the Astros, and Altuve beat them with a 3-run home run. The Blue Jays bats were solid. They had a good weekend last weekend, and Robbie Ray, the all-star pitcher, has been really a sight for them in terms of their pitching staff because their bullpen's a little shaky, and I don't know if they have enough horses. Certainly on the offensive side, they've got enough horses now. And George Springer has come back in the mix, and he's been really, really hot since he's come back in there. So offensively, they're good. I don't know if they're going to go back to Toronto at all this year, but they are having a good time in Buffalo scoring runs, and we told you that there were going to be a lot of runs scored. So your AL East takes, Charlie, because who's looking for what and who's going to buy, who's going to sell. I like Toronto to still buy because I still think they can get to the wild card. I think Boston can still make a couple moves. They might be able to hold off Tampa. Tampa doesn't spend a lot of money, but they always come up with guys. Right now, this Wander Franco that they brought up, the number 1 prospect in baseball, he's starting to play a lot of shortstop for them, and he's a switch-hitting, power-hitting shortstop who's pretty smooth in the field right now. And I watched his first game against the Red Sox about 3 weeks ago, and all he did was hit a game-tying 3-run home run. So there you go, scouting department. Speak of the scouting departments right there from that standpoint, because Tampa Bay really relies on that. So Boston, Tampa Bay, Toronto, New York. What are we thinking here, Charlie?
Well, I think Boston really has a lot of their hopes pinned on the fact that Chris Sale is coming back. And I know that it's really tough to look at a guy coming back from Tommy John mid-season and think that he's going to make any impact. If any pitcher is going to do that, it's Chris Sale. He's experienced. He's a veteran. He has a desire he wants to be out there. So there's a good chance that he can make an impact. So I think that's where they have a lot of their hopes pinned right there. They may make another move or two. If you'd asked me at the beginning of the season, would they be any kind of a buyer? No, because I think they're trying to sell that team. John Henry's been looking at trying to sell that team because he's moving into the world of soccer. That's where his investment future is. But what the heck? All of a sudden, his team becomes good, and he's still a baseball guy. I mean, I don't think he's lost interest in baseball. I just think he's got another investment vehicle. So I think that they are willing to invest. So I think they're probably out there sniffing some other deals. Tampa, they're going to make minor deals. They won't make any major deals. Tampa's I don't think they can necessarily use him, but Tampa's the kind of team that would look at a Brandon Belt and say, yeah, maybe we could plug him in for the last part of the season and use him somewhere. I mean, that's the kind of team where a deal like that might percolate and come up and find some prospects or something to come in. Toronto, I don't know. They've certainly got the offense. They're making that stadium in Buffalo work for them. And I got to tell you, Vasu, I thought they were headed back to Toronto. Now with this variant thing, gosh, we still talking COVID?
Yeah.
With this variant thing, no, I don't think they're going back. I don't think they're going back to Toronto, unfortunately. And I hate it for the Toronto fans. They're such good fans. But I don't think they're going back to Toronto. The Yankees, who knows?
Yeah, they don't hit. The Yankees don't hit with runners in scoring position, and now this COVID situation came up yesterday. It's going to be really tough for me to see them. I didn't think they were very good coming out. I think everybody overrated the Yankees to come out with because Garrett Cole. They got Corey Kluber. Corey Kluber has pitched one inning for the Yankees this year. Domingo Germán has not pitched very well. In fact, I was going to go against him. Last night he was a starter. He was a listed starter against Eduardo Rodriguez and the Red Sox, and they don't even have him listed. I don't even think – well, they don't even know if they're going to play tonight. So it is Rodriguez and Germán. It looks like they are going to play. We do have the updated lines. We'll give you those at the end as well in our pick segment. But Eduardo Rodriguez and Domingo Germán going tonight in Yankee Stadium as well too. Excuse me. I'll tell you what I think about the Boston Red Sox. They've got Bobby Dahlbeck at first base. Their outfield with Verdugo is Verdugo's played well for them. JD Martinez, the DH. They've had good offense coming out of the outfield. Not great offense. Their offense is right now based on Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts, the two All-Stars, and Verdugo at the top of the order. Bobby Dahlbeck has come through with something. You know what I would look at if I was Baltimore, and I know this doesn't happen within the division very much, but how about Trey Mancini with Fenway Park there as a right-handed hitter after what he did after the All-Star Home Run Derby? Trey Mancini, probably a trade prospect. They're probably not going to get rid of Cedric Mullins because they've got a lot of young guys on that team. Cedric Mullins, their All-Star, he's like 23 years old. He's got 17 home runs. He runs like the wind, plays a great center field. He's not going anywhere, at least in the near future. Guys like Anthony Santander, guys on the Orioles team that are good hitters, similar to what Arizona has in terms of hitting, no pitching right now that other teams can definitely look at to plug in. But Trey Mancini, first of all, for anybody, would probably be a bonus to begin with. You could see him in San Francisco. I could see as an outfielder in San Francisco. I could see him in LA with their depth issues. I could see him even going to San Diego because San Diego fits him perfectly from a standpoint of gap-to-gap hitter, and that's what Petco Park is. Mm-hmm. But, boy, the Boston Red Sox and Trey Mancini at first base with Bobby Dahlbeck hitting 220 with that left field wall sitting there seems like a great opportunity. And I would give – and I know he's come off his cancer and you know what you're going to get from him. But if you're going to go for it and he's in your division and you can somehow make it worthwhile for the Orioles right there, I would certainly go after a guy like Trey Mancini. And I just don't know what to figure out about the Yankees. I just think they ought to pack it in. I know Hal Steinbrenner doesn't spend the money that his dad did. It would be a lot different if his dad were still alive. You mentioned that yesterday. And then Toronto, nice story so far. Toronto, Guerrero, Bichette, and Biggio and Springer now all getting going offensively. Randall Grichuk has even had a good year, and it was good to see Vladimir Guerrero with the MVP trophy on Tuesday as well. That made their scene. But I can see Boston and Tampa Bay making some moves here and fighting it out towards the end. I think they still have I think they still have 9 games or 12 games left against each other. So it's going to be a war coming down. And by the way, they don't like each other, and they definitely do not like each other. And actually, there's a lot of fans that show up at that game, both Boston, but a lot more Tampa Bay fans are showing up in St. Petersburg to see the Rays and the I almost called them the Buccaneers. I'm still thinking about Tom Brady, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox. All right, let's move on to the Central here. You got about 10 minutes in the show here. White Sox rolling. They look like they're going to win the division. I think that's pretty much a fait accompli. They're 5 straight. They're 7 up in the loss column on Cleveland. Aaron Civale's had a great year for Cleveland. I was surprised he didn't make the All-Star team, leading the American League in wins, leading them tied with Urias for 11 wins in Major League Baseball. Shane Bieber out right now. He's got the injury. He was there at the All-Star game. They swept Baltimore. They're rolling right now. Big series this weekend, as we see on the ticker at the bottom. You'll see the Chicago White Sox have a score to settle with the Houston Astros. Remember, they got swept by Houston in Houston 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago in a 4-game series, and 2 of them were walk-offs. Don't you think the Astros want to show? Don't you think the White Sox want to show the Astros that they are a player, and that even though the division may be over, that they want to show the Astros that they can compete with them on the field? And I think they can in Chicago, Charlie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, isn't this the preview of the ALCS?
Maybe.
I mean, I think
if you're the Oakland A's or the Boston Red Sox.
Well, I know, but in projections, at least there's a good possibility. There's a strong possibility that this is a preview of the ALCS. I mean, this is, we always ask, what series are you going to focus on this weekend? Baby, this is the series I'm focusing on this weekend because I am interested to see who wins because both teams are strong. And I agree with you. It's a fait accompli in the Central. It's the White Sox. I mean, they would have to have multiple injuries and just collapse in order not to win that division. For Houston, I think they're going to only add to their team. There's strong rumors now they're going after Kimbrel.
Yep.
Well, can you imagine adding Kimbrel to that staff?
I can.
That would be incredible.
They're going to have to do something because we know Dusty likes to pull their pitchers, his pitchers a little early. So he's got Greinke there to go 8 or 9. Lance McCullers, by the way, a road favorite, 124 at Chicago. The total 9. Lance McCullers Jr. against Dylan Cease, one of the good arms for the White Sox. And I'm a little surprised that Houston's a little favorite on the road here. We'll see in the pick segments as far as that goes. But big series in the American League between the White Sox and the Astros. Not the Yankees, Red Sox, the White Sox and the Astros. All right, let's move on to the American League West, where we live. The Oakland A's are very big in Sacramento, where you live, and obviously here I'm 30 miles away from Oakland. Houston, we said they salvaged the last game against the Yankees. They got beat. Their starting pitching still in question mark. They were down late in that game. Lance McCullers was the one who started the game on Sunday against the Yankees, but they got the Altuve Walk-off to salvage that series and not get swept. Oakland had a tough time with Texas. They're still 4 games back. Seattle, I don't know if Seattle should be buyers or sellers right now. They're 5 games over. They're 7 games back. I know they're not going to catch Houston or Oakland maybe, but I think they should certainly consider themselves still in a wild card position, at least for a second wild card, because you're fighting with the American League East, who's not great, and you're fighting with the American League Central. And I think that Seattle could beat Cleveland, and I think Seattle may have a shot at Tampa Bay or Toronto, depending on who comes out of the East. I think they're better than the Yankees. They proved that they can beat the Yankees as well, too. So American League West takes, Charlie.
I don't think Seattle will be sellers. I just don't think they'll be big buyers. I think they might make some little moves, and I think that's exactly what they should do because they're not guaranteed anything. I think you're right. I think they may be contenders for that second wild card slot. So I think it's going to be kind of a stand pat, maybe try to pat a few holes here and there and see what they can do to stay in it. The A's have got to make. I think the A's have to make a couple of big moves. I think they've got to do something at shortstop. They've got to get some offense out of that position. It's just not happening there, and they've got to make something there. They could use another pitcher. They could use some more offense out of.
They can
What's
use a lot of bullpen help in their arena.
They could use some more offense, because that team's kind of built around let's beat everybody by putting the ball over the wall. That's kind of their style. So they need to make a couple of, if you will, home run moves right at the trade deadline in order to keep them. So, I mean, I think they'll make the wild card. But what they really need to do is win the division. And if they're going to do that, if they're going to surpass Houston and not have to play that crazy 1-game wild card, which they do not have,
they're not doing very well on that. Yeah, they don't have a good
history in. They've got to make some big moves.
All right, let's wrap it up here. We're going to our picks in a second. We'll do our picks really quick. We didn't get a chance to talk about the NBA yet. Game 5 tomorrow night in Phoenix. All the home teams have won. Phoenix -4, 218, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock on ABC. All the home teams have won. The momentum on Milwaukee's side after winning the last 2 games. What a night for Chris Middleton. He wasn't even he didn't even shoot that great, but he had 40 points. Giannis had 26. Paul didn't look like he was very healthy. I don't know if it's health or the fact that he's just not playing well or his mind's not there. Ayton didn't score. If Jay Crowder's your second leading scorer behind Devin Booker, you got some problems there going in. All right, Charlie, a minute to talk about Phoenix and Milwaukee. Go ahead.
You know what? This is a pivotal game because it's in the 70th percentile that when a series is tied 2-2, that the team who wins game 5 goes on to win the series. So this is really critical. Whoever wins this game 5 could well be your NBA champion. The last time that a team lost game 5 and went on to win the NBA championship, I believe, was 2013, and that would have been the Heat. So this really is a critical game. So the winner here could be your next NBA champion.
Well, all the home teams have won so far, but Milwaukee being the lesser seed, the lower seed, is going to have to find a way to win at least one road game. All right, 9 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. We'll review it all on Monday, and then Game 6 will be Tuesday night as well too. All right, Charlie, 2.5 minutes to go. Go ahead with your picks for the weekend or for today.
Well, for today, I am going to go to Dodgers minus. I got a little better money lines here, a few places. I'm going to go Dodgers minus 195 over Colorado. I think that's, I know that's easy pickings, but I'm looking for easy pickings right now. I'm going to go Seattle plus 120 against the Angels. And finally, I'm going to take under 8 in that Cleveland-Oakland game because it's a night game in Oakland. It's summer. That marine layer is going to be in, and the ball will not travel.
Dodgers, Seattle's an underdog. Cleveland, Oakland, under 8. Don't forget to check out our social media pages. We'll have picks later by 6 Eastern for all the night games as well as Saturday and Sunday. All right, me real quick. I'm going to go with Game 1 of the Philadelphia Phillies. Matt Moore, plus 110 against Sandy Alcantara. Marlins offense doesn't hit. Philadelphia at home. Coming out of the All-Star break, they should be ready to go, even with Matt Moore on the mound. I know the bullpen's a little shaky, but I think Philadelphia gets it. Cincinnati, they beat Milwaukee 3 in a row on the road to end the All-Star break. Tyler Mahle at home against Adrian Hauser. Tyler Mahle and the Reds, minus 125. And I'm going to take the A's. They're red hot right now. The Indians struggling, and maybe the Indians will turn it around in the second half. But tough way to open up the second half of the season to go into Oakland, especially when you're trying to catch the White Sox. So Philadelphia in Game 1, Cincinnati minus 125 against Milwaukee in a big series in the NL Central, and Oakland minus 195. Check back on our social media pages, anywhere you get your social media, Facebook, Instagram, at MTMAR Podcast on Twitter, MTMAR Podcast at gmail.com. Send us any questions, any picks you have. We'll get to you. Our social media will be back at 6 Eastern online with any picks that we have for today. No games till 3 o'clock tomorrow in the afternoon, so we'll have some picks out there by 2 o'clock, 11 o'clock on the West Coast. So keep up on our Facebook pages, keep up on our social media pages as well. We're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays live on Facebook and YouTube. You can always download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. You can catch up on our picks. You can actually track our picks and see how we're doing. We're actually been doing pretty well. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. For Charlie O, I'm Vasu Party. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 16th, 2021. Good luck in all your games, and we will see you Monday. Make sure to check our social pages And for any picks and any other news and information, we'll get those other games out there lines wise. Have a great weekend, everybody. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast.